Ladies and gentlemen, we've got bin Laden's letters and correspondences. It's not bad, we're getting somewhere. So there was over 6,000 of these that we captured, but we're now releasing 197 pages out of about 7 or so documents that we've got. Now, first note on this before we get to the substance is that understand that we're going to release the things that we like. We're not going to release the things we don't like. So what you won't get on a lot of the media is this disclaimer that this has some propaganda value for our fight against Al-Qaeda. And that's why our government has decided to release this out of all of the 6,000 documents that we have. So keep it real on that. Nonetheless, there are some things here that are interesting and that don't put us in a great light. But the majority obviously don't put Al-Qaeda in a great light. So some of those things. Number one, bin Laden looks like, in these documents at least, kind of like a middle manager at Office Depot who's lost control of the guys. And he's like, God damn it, I can't get Bob to deliver the goddamn papers.
I was thinking Steve Carell.
Right, yeah. He's frustrated, right? And he's like, why can't I get the guy in Pakistan to do what I'm asking for? And what's wrong with Ahmed in Yemen?
Right. It's Al-Qaeda as Dunder Mifflin, basically.
Right. Yeah, it's true. And so, again, I'm sure that there are emails that we're not going to release where he looks brilliant. Okay,
and by the way, I wouldn't, I knew a lot of intelligence guys, or a few when I was doing international work. We can't discount the possibility that some of them are just made up, too. That he didn't write them. But they look fairly believable.
Yeah, and it's not over the top. He doesn't look buffoonish. He just, at times, looks frustrated. And it makes all the sense in the world. He's a normal guy. And there are guys who don't do what he asks them to do, and he gets frustrated. So, but it's, of course, there's a little bit of funny element to it. Now, speaking of funny in a really tragic way, there are some guys he was concerned with were too extreme for Al-Qaeda. Now, you got to be pretty damn extreme to be too extreme for Al-Qaeda. But he's complaining about the guys in Somalia, and he's saying, and in Yemen as well, and he says, Nasser al-Wuhaishi, and there's no way I did that right, he's worried that he is not focusing his attacks on the United States enough, that he's focusing on Yemen too much. So that's a geopolitical dispute. In Somalia, he is worried that they have too strict an administration in Islamic law. Again, I'm like, it's such a funny thought that Al-Qaeda is like, you know what, you're following the Quran a little too closely, big guy.
Well, I think that, again, it's a marketing question for him. What he was basically struggling with was, these people, these fundamentalist Muslims in these countries, they're our market. And if you alienate them, we're not going to be able to build market share. That's what it all read like to me. The ones who are retaliating against Muslims, killing Muslims, being too punitive towards, again, fairly fundamentalist Muslims, that's bad marketing, because you're just alienating it's like the Record Industry Association suing people who download files. You don't attack your customer base.
That's such a great analogy. It's true because, for example, in Somalia, he says, stop cutting their hands. It looks really bad. And then we're losing the population. And in Iraq, they were really concerned that they were losing the population there because they kept hitting fellow Muslims. And in some countries, these Al-Qaeda offshoots, which apparently they have some communication with, but not total control over, they were doing indiscriminate attacks against fellow Muslims. And they were worried, kind of a gladiator-esque, that they were losing the crowd. They're like, if you're just randomly bombing fellow Muslims, well, of course we can't recruit them. They're going to be mad that we killed them, right?
Well, Al-Qaeda became a franchise. It became like Domino's Pizza. You buy one in this town, Yemen or whatever, and you're the Al-Qaeda guy, but there was not enough central control. So if you make lousy pizza in Yemen, then you're polluting the brand. And that's what he was struggling with there.
Yeah, we've used some fascinating analogies here. By the way, the correspondence was between September of 2006 and April of 2011. Now, final two things on this which are interesting. One is important, which is on Iran. The second one's going to be funny. The one on Iran is they say, look, we tried to reach out to those guys, but we don't have an alliance. And negotiations have been, quote, indirect and unpleasant. So the neocons that are trying to make the point of like, oh my God, look at these guys, they might be working with Iran. Well, we have the letters here that say, no, in fact, we don't like those guys.
Right, well, Shia-Sunni split there, too, so
Yeah.
that's a big deal, too.
That's exactly right. Iran is Shia and Al-Qaeda is Sunni. They've never gotten along. In fact, the other thing that the letters explain, which we already knew, but it's good, documentation from bin Laden's compound, is that they're pissed because Iran is holding Al-Qaeda prisoners. So they're like, God damn it, they're basically in tremendous conflict with one another. They're clearly not working together. So at least we know that from what they've released. And then finally, on the what their thoughts on American leaders are, they were really wanted to kill General Petraeus, which is not surprising. And then they also targeted, of course, President Obama, which is also not surprising. But one of the reasons they targeted President Obama is because they thought that Joe Biden would make a very ineffective president. They said that he is, quote, utterly unprepared. And I was like, man, that's a random diss of Biden. If I was Biden, I was like, hey, do we have to release that letter? I'm not sure that one needs to get out.
Why did they release that letter? That's a great point. That may be a big effing deal, to use Biden's own words. Yeah. That's a great point. Why did they let that one get out?
And, it's interesting because I was just in Washington last weekend and I went to the executive office building, which is next to the White House. And when you walk in, they have a picture of the president and the vice president. And it's funny, like if you were looking at a movie, right? Biden looks like what you would see in a movie, like the old white guy president. And President Obama in that picture looked like, oh, look at that. They've got the African-American vice president who's young and energetic, et cetera. Right?
Like it was the other way.
Right.
Yeah.
But in reality, of course, President Obama is the president. And Vice President Biden, who is the senior senator, et cetera. Apparently, Al-Qaeda thinks like, we'd love it if that rookie was in there.